I'm a deafblind person and I want to be enjoyed, I want to be in the community just the same as everybody else.
Even if there was 100,000 people around us here now, I would still feel, without an interpreter, really, really lonely. I would only feel like one person in the room. With an interpreter, or someone who can explain what's happening, that really is something that helps us to come up to the level of breaking that, as Heather said before, isolation.
When I was first diagnosed with deaf blindness, I grew up in a hearing world, even though I'm deaf. And when I came against the other deaf-blind people, I came across isolation, communication barriers and confusion. And I found that everyone was at different wavelengths, and I found myself getting angry a lot, frustrated.
When I first lost a great deal of my hearing about 22 years ago, I was just absolutely devastated. Communication was difficult. But when, I think one thing that I find really hard is that, okay, we all can talk and sign and what have you. When we all sort of go about our own life, and I wouldn't have it any other way, live in the real world or the true world, people just sort of think because you don't understand, you're absolutely, you're dumb or stupid. We're not dumb or stupid. We just have a different way of communicating. Even, like I find, even my family still doesn't really sort of communicate all that well.
I know it's not easy, but I wish we could just achieve these things as of tomorrow. But I think a big change would be people's attitudes. Because a lot of people aren't aware of deaf-blindness. Empathy. It's a really important word. Is that the...
Yep.
And in the way, like, understanding, to be empathetic, I'd rather that than pity. So people, they need to understand that we're deaf and blind and we do need support, but we don't want pity. We have our own rights. We have the right to be involved in the community and everything, so that'd be a big thing I'd like to change. Yeah, I think that's understanding and changing people's attitudes. And we're forever providing advice and information, and I guess in a way I feel like a full-time teacher almost. I guess teachers, they teach for 10 hours a day, but I feel for me I'm constantly telling the same information over and over again, so there's been no change yet. It's really hard. It's not that easy. Oh, sorry, one more. I would like to change. I want more and more and more people with Auslan skills.
For about A3, a bit bigger than A3, they made us play. able to carve into the clay. Some of the tools have double ends. We also have the wooden tool. We then have the double-ended carving tool. Just have a play at making some different marks. Don't be afraid to push. Before we get started, is maybe ask what you're thinking about what you might put onto your tile.
I'm still working out how the carving process is working, what are the different shapes and things I can make first. Oh, I've made a hand shape and that's really good. I think I prefer one with a wooden handle better.
Something in my mind, like the finger and the... Like I drew it before on the piece of paper.
Heather's just asked. It doesn't matter? It doesn't matter. Okay, great. So we can all be different or...
Yep.
Oh, great.
I've sort of drawn a butterfly and a bat to represent deaf blindness, a fence, barriers, isolation.
Try and think about the marks that you make and actually how they reflect the emotion that you're feeling.
What I suppose I'm sort of representing is things doing again and again and again, where without power, things just don't change. So this is representing forever and ever and ever. And, if we don't have the power to change things, it'll be going the same forever and ever and ever.
Okay, so the reason why I'd drawn the dog today was as I was growing up before I lost my sight, I could always do lots of artwork at home. I would trace or copy work from other pictures. But when I lost my vision, I was really disappointed. I was really sad that I couldn't keep drawing. I did try a few times with pencils. I would always put the eyes on first and then put one of my fingers over one eye, then another finger over the other eye, trace around that way, so I always knew where my ink was on the page. But then I'd sort of stop doing it. It was something I'd do if I was just bored or at home, and I could always draw almost anything. But then today, after I made my first piece with my hands over other hands, I thought, oh yeah, I'd never thought that all the drawing that I'd done years ago back when I was at school, I could try to draw the dog again. And my memory still was perfect from then, and I could draw it again, and the clay was so much easier for me, being tactile. I could feel where I'd gone. Really, hands over the hands, the tactile, it's more involved with being in the deafblind community. So to be involved, we need interpreters. And so just having the picture of hands over hands is a way of tactile communication, just linking to touch. Sometimes when you meet people in the hearing world, you need to shake hands. And that's the thing for both communities. We're always holding each other's hands or touching hands. One thing for me here today, I can't see anything. Everything's completely black. Over the past couple of years, my eyesight had deteriorated further. So right now, I don't know where I'm standing. I don't know the environment. It's all black to me. But by touch, I can put my hand out and feel, the interpreter's right there. I know where I am. Through touch, I can put my hand to the side and find, there's a chair there. There's the table. And that's the same as perhaps when I meet other deaf or deafblind people, we can put our hands over each other and communicate, and it all comes back to touch.
When I was first diagnosed with deaf blindness a few years ago, this is what I felt. This is me standing behind a fence, a wall, and there's a group of people here, and I just felt completely isolated from the community. And of course, it represents communication for deaf-blind people, because they need to use all different forms of communication, such as Auslan.
That theme of ever is I'm bringing in the different ways of communicating. So you've got Braille, E-V-E-R, you've got it written E-R, and you have in the sign. So all the different ways of communication is brought together in one piece. Having people around me that accept me gives me great joy, like you guys and, other people when we go to deafblind camps and things like that. Having the appropriate support when I go out with my support worker, we go shopping. Usually we can't go past a coffee shop without having a coffee and a chat. I absolutely love that.
A joy to me achieving something like the Philippines and getting into people's heads, like the government, about what deafblindness is. Breaking down the barriers, dance away to freedom.
My joy is playing jokes. I love jokes. I love making up tricks and jokes with my cane. I'm always very proud when people laugh at me. I feel good. Any activity with a support or a friend, when we go and do something. An example is I love to learn outdoor things. For instance, in New South Wales,
I went swimming and I got to meet some manta rays.
and I hugged it. So that was joy. It's very odd, but joy means for me learning, understanding something other than not just wondering what people are talking about. But understanding for me is joy, is real happiness. All the different fish I was able to touch in that aquarium, and octopus, I felt really, really happy and a lot of joy. So joy means from learning, having the knowledge and achieving something. Like when the three of us met the Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, I felt really positive and happy after that. That was joy for me. Biggest frustration is with the government. They change their mind, they change the policies, and what we really want never happens anyway. Now we've got this NDIS happening and the government's still making decisions, and we still have to start all over again advocating for the deaf-blind. Just feels like we do all this advocacy but nothing gets achieved for us. And I get depressed about that. I feel frustrated with myself about how I can fix it for all other deaf-blind people. The government really makes me frustrated. Also, the other thing I get frustrated with is having enough people to communicate in Auslan. If there was more Auslan and more deaf people who would volunteer, there would be more support for deaf-blind. That's a big frustration, communication in Auslan. There's no communication with just the average person or the person we come in contact with in life. I get very frustrated with that.
I get frustrated with the government that they need to look at deaf blindness as a whole, at all levels, not just at one level, because there's different types of deaf blindness.
How people really don't understand the communication. When we have the communication interpreters and what have you, we're on the same level as hearing people. That sort of brings us up to the level. So I think I have to agree with other things that people are saying is about communication. What is going to happen to us, even DBV and advocacy in the future? Okay, fine, there will be hopefully changes and improvements made for NDIS, but however, I'm just gravely concerned that our voices are going to be, they're just going to stand on us or suppress us, because we are a small group and we really don't have that much power. And I sort of feel that that's sort of a frustration that I actually feel. There are also barriers that people put in our way that can't be seen. Institutionalised barriers that's put up, I think is absolutely appalling. That makes me so frustrated. It's going to come down to that one thing that government don't want to hear. That's providing enough support for us and also new deafblind people coming into the group. So I suppose that that would be money. More deafblind people having the same opportunities as us, so that they too can learn about advocacy.
Hear the truth. Hear the truth about deaf blindness.
Together, one belief.
Bonding. Power.
Understanding, learning from each other.
Okay, we ready?
Joy for me is hands, touching hands, that's my identity. Because hands are forever for a deafblind person. Tactile signing for deafblind people. We will always need hands for touching communication. With interpreters, that's how we communicate. That's what my tile means. And for me, joy is my identity with hands.
I'm talking about isolation and deafblindness in my picture because there in deafblindness there is isolation from the community, people, and they need communication such as Auslan.
E-V-E-R, ever. And if we don't change the situation, things will continue forever and ever and ever.